Cyberpunk 2077's latest update just came yesterday, and this actually came with quite a few secret changes to the game. We get some romance scene upgrades, new mechanics for cars, but also some issues. Because while many of these changes are very cool and exciting, some others are causing game-breaking issues that are affecting quite a few players. The big new feature of patch 2.11 is the ability to change the color of your cars, specifically the two Rayfield cars that are available in the game. To do this, simply get into the car and you'll see a new option on the side. On PC, this will be the Y key. It'll open up this color wheel, but a unique aspect is this will actually work in almost every single car in the game. Jump in any car from your garage and simply hold down that exact same key, even though no options available on screen, and the familiar color wheel will appear once again. Unfortunately, even though this does appear, you cannot change the color of your car's paint. Instead, what you could do is use this internal color wheel to change the color of your car's headlights. And you can definitely create some pretty cool looking cars with this one, although unfortunately this is not going to be saved. Each time you exit and get back into the car, you will need to reset this and reassign whatever headlight color you want. But you can do this pretty easily because whatever you last assigned will be saved in the color wheel, so you can just open it up and hit assign again and that color headlight will be assigned immediately. I would be shocked if some mods actually end up adding this in as a more proper feature in the future. And this will even work with some of the random cars on the street. Just get in any car and you can change the headlights of it and even some of the motorcycles from your garage. And as far as I can tell, this works on everything except one very specific vehicle. The Mercmobile Caliburn doesn't actually work with this. If you try and use the feature of changing the car's color, you'll get a BIOS error citing power delivery issues, and this is a pretty cool in-game Easter egg. This car is owned by Mercman in the Cyberpunk universe, which is effectively Batman. So this likely indicates that they made some personal changes to the car, likely changing some settings in the BIOS around power delivery as he customized it. Although unfortunately, this update also shipped with a bit of a new problem. After downloading the update, tons of users immediately discovered that they could no longer play the game. They would be able to load in and play for a few minutes, but then shortly thereafter, a flatline would occur as Cyberpunk would crash to desktop. A ton of players became incredibly upset with this. A brand new update and suddenly you can no longer play for more than a couple of minutes. And this was pretty widespread. A ton of users reporting these crashing issues, and one of the interesting parts was a lot of these were people who have never modded the game or even are playing on a high-end system. The types of players you wouldn't think should be crashing. And it seems like this was the cause, and like literally. Not my wanted level, not any graphical setup, but the dashing. For whatever reason, it seems like for many of the players who have their dash key rebound to their mouse, like using mouse button 4, are now crashing with the latest update to Cyberpunk. Thankfully, for many, this was fixed just by simply resetting their keybinds to default, and then immediately you could play the game again. Unfortunately, there are another smaller subset of users by which this didn't comprehensively fix things, but they may have other issues going on with mods. But even beyond just having this dashing key rebound, there are some other users who had other keys rebound that are also causing this problem. So if you are crashing after this new update with Cyberpunk, just try resetting your keybinds and this may literally fix it. Some others had to go a bit deeper into resetting some INI files they edited, but it'll be interesting to see CDPR's response to this because of course being able to rebind some keys is definitely important. Although unfortunately that isn't the only issue to pop up with this update. Patch 2.11 also added in a new performance option. You can have Cyberpunk 2077 specifically prioritize the performance cores on your processor, or alternatively, and what's on by default, have it automatically decide between using the efficiency or performance cores. And from just a technical standpoint, this is a really cool addition to the game. I'm happy it was added. Unfortunately, it has a pretty big issue. Tons of users are reporting that if you actually switch to using performance cores, the game has an unplayable stutter. You can see it here using my own 13900K. I just can't play the game like this, and I don't really think anyone could play the game like this. But okay, not a big deal. It's an optional setting, just switch things back to auto. Well, that is where the second and much larger aspect of this problem comes in, because this is how my game now performs on auto, and to be clear, these are the only two options. It's either auto or P cores. There's no offsetting here. So for whatever reason, even on auto, my game has a significant and quite prevalent stutter. And even stranger, I found that this was more prevalent on certain save games compared to others. And for me, it has been absolutely brutal trying to play around this. It heavily impacted filming my patch 2.11 video. Whenever just moving around quickly, whether that be in a car or dashing around in combat, I would immediately start to stutter. And for some reason, using some other save games, while I still get stutters occasionally, it's mostly fine. It really seems like this one's save specific for some reason, which is kind of a problem because while I can easily switch save games from one to another, most players don't have that luxury. They can't just ditch their entire save. So now, thankfully, a workaround seems to have been found by the community, but unfortunately, it's not a simple one. Going into your BIOS and manually unfortunately, disabling E-cores on your CPU does seem to largely fix this problem, but that's not really a proper solution. So if you're noticing stutters in Cyberpunk 2077, I'll have a few links to post down below, but it definitely seems like this is going to be one that CDPR has to address in another update. Judy got some visual changes, some of which are romance scene specific. Judy's apparel, and no demonetization please, got a visual change. Instead of this being the functionally questionable disconnected variant, she will now wear a properly clasped brassiere that can fully support her. This will be reflected whenever she is dressed like this, but most notably around the romance scene, and the romance scene itself also got a nice change. Originally, for some reason, in this romance scene, her hair was bizarrely short in the back. It's like in between this scene and the next one, she got a haircut. But thankfully now in the updated version of the game, her hair's the appropriate length and continuity is maintained. So overall, a relatively small but a nice immersive change for Judy. Tons of Cyberpunk 2077 players were hoping for Sonic Shock to finally get patched with this update, but unfortunately it wasn't. Sonic Shock is still not a tool for stealth net running, but it is a tool, and I think a lot of players don't realize how powerful Sonic Shock can be even with these most recent changes. At tier 4 Sonic Shock and up, it'll cloak enemies from their allies' senses. So you can just upload Sonic Shock to literally all of the enemies around each other and potentially even use a cyber deck that automatically spreads, then take out your favorite silent sniper and you can immediately finish off every single enemy and they won't realize their comrades are being taken down because, again, they can't see each other. The major consideration being you have to be far enough away that the enemy won't hear your gunshot. Like here, you can see this guy hears me shoot and that's why he reacts, even though the other people around him don't react. But in general, this can be pretty powerful. You can take down entire groups of enemies pretty quickly, and it becomes far more viable with Phantom Liberty because if you go to this Dogtown vendor in the Coliseum, he sells you an iconic version of Sonic Shock that only costs 2 RAM to upload. So this quick hacking stealthy marksman build is actually pretty viable now. Although outside of that, there is one other major usage of Sonic Shock. If you use Sonic Shock with all of the other control quick hacks, uploading Memory Wipe, Sonic Shock, and Reboot Optics onto one person, it'll immediately neutralize that enemy. And if you're going to go this route, make sure you use tier 4 of Memory Wipe as it does have significantly lower RAM costs. But in general, I've found this combo to be pretty funny to witness, although not really viable because it is quite expensive RAM-wise. You'll probably run out of RAM before you run out of enemies. If you do just want to be a traditional stealthy netrunner now, the only way to do that is by using a higher tiers of Memory Wipe. Although, one of the most popular questions I saw following this update was, what is this unnamed new reward for completing all of Regina's Cyber Psycho gigs? It should now give you a tier 5 of packs, which will just give you a flat damage bonus when out of combat, and perhaps even more valuable, a cyberware capacity boosting shard. There are rewards from all of the fixers for completing every gig they offer in Night City, but if you want to find gigs in Night City a bit easier, just go and talk to that fixer. This is a feature I see a lot of people unaware of, but if you speak to a fixer, it'll unveil what each of their corresponding gig map markers actually are, at least what category of gig it is, which to me makes it a lot easier because I hate doing some of these, but really enjoy doing some others. But do you remember this diving suit used during Phantom Liberty during this infiltration scene? It gets a brief but very impactful appearance, but what I think a lot of players miss is you actually keep this. It'll be the tactical diving suit with a mask in your inventory, and it carries over the infinite oxygen ability so you can stay underwater forever. And this could be incredibly handy for getting things like the iconic Kyuubi Xmod 2 weapon in Dogtown. This will spawn right across from the central fast travel point, and it's going to be at the bottom of a giant pit of water, which of course is no problem now because you have unlimited stamina and can just stay down there forever. Also, kind of a viable suit to have in the back pocket in case you get into a big fight and can just hide in the water to hide out enemies. And those are some of the major secret features I found with patch 2.11. Unfortunately, this one came with a couple of extra issues, so we'll likely see another update come from CDPR in the next few weeks to address those. But until then, check out this video where I show you some of the best and recently updated Cyberpunk 2077 mods that you should probably be downloading.